Dead Rising is a series that's all about killing zombies. From creating powerful combo weapons to piloting straight up death machines, there's endless ways to dispose of the undead. But you know what? I don't like that. As I'm sure you're all aware of by now, I'm a pacifist, and I absolutely despise violence.
I've had enough of you! You're a piece of—
So today, I thought it'd be fun to try and beat Dead Rising 3 without killing a single zombie. I don't even know if this is possible, and to be honest, I don't really have any good strategies in mind, but let's just jump into it. My adventure began at the 72-hour mark of the outbreak. I made my way onto a deserted highway, desperately looking for a way out of the city. With what little I'd seen during that 3-day span, from big buff men who wanted to toss my salad to psychotic maniacs who wanted nothing more than to crawl around on the ground on all fours, I knew I had to get the hell out of there. Unfortunately though, my only way forward was through a creepy dark tunnel. I busted my way through some fences, narrowly avoided being eaten by a massive horde of zombies, and continued pushing on, getting deeper and deeper into the tunnel. Things were looking good, and I was optimistic for the future, until I was attacked. I launched my attacker back, and thankfully, he was still alive. Well, he was dead, but not dead. That was good enough for me, so I got the hell out of there before he tried to take another bite. I continued making my way through that horrible place until I finally reached the end of the tunnel, and it was there my heart dropped. It was nothing but a dead end, and I'd have to look for another way out of the city. God damn it. I left the way I came, got attacked by the massive horde I slipped by earlier, realized that the outside world wasn't any safer, and dolphin dived to the ground below. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. When I woke up from my coma, a plane was headed right for me, Resident Evil 6 style, and for some reason, Nick decided to run towards it. Brother, what are you doing? This isn't football! Somehow, the plane just barely missed me, and it was here the challenge really began. There were zombies everywhere, and people all around me were being eaten alive as they begged me for my help. But what could I do? I was a pacifist, and anything that involved me killing something, even if it meant saving an innocent life, wasn't something I was willing to do. Sorry. After a few minutes of endless near-death experiences, I was finally able to make it back to the diner where I first holed up, and it was there I met my people. There were 3 characters to note here: Rhonda, Dick, and Annie. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's actually 5 people in that diner. Why do I only care about 3? Well, that's probably because the brain-dead old lady started panicking for no reason, ran out the front door, and immediately got torn apart by the zombies who chased me there. And oh yeah, her son died too. I pretended to try and help him, but to be honest, I didn't really want him on the team anyway. So yeah, like I said, only 3 characters to note. Because we were surrounded, we decided it was best we leave sooner rather than later. Annie took a head start, leaving us behind in the process, and so it was up to me to protect both Rhonda and Dick. In other words, they were completely screwed. We booked it out the back door, narrowly missed getting chomped on by some zombies, and by some miracle, made it to a working car. But this wouldn't do. No, this wouldn't do at all. What, they expected me to hop in this death machine and rack up kills for their sake? Oh, hell no. I opened that highway blocker, dove headfirst into the ocean of the undead, and forced my 2 companions to swim in after me. Sure, it was stupid. It was selfish even, but I didn't care. I had one goal, and one goal only. Anyone who got in the way of that could kiss my ass. Anyway, the 3 of us somehow made it to Rhonda's garage in one piece, and it was at that point I finally had my freedom. I could roam the map as I pleased, I could beat on innocent civilians as I pleased, and I could even start getting PP. What's PP, you ask? Well, it's essentially the way to level up in this game. Now, normally, defeating zombies in Mortal Kombat would be the best way to gain PP, but because I couldn't do that, I was limited to only 3 alternatives: collecting statues, destroying speakers, and saving survivors. These methods were easy enough to do, and it didn't take much for me to level up, but remember, as I started to get stronger and stronger, the PP gains would start to decline more and more, so I had to keep in mind what would be important to level up for the future before just going all willy-nilly with it. For now, I decided that agility would be a good upgrade to go with, since cars weren't an option for me. I was going to be doing a lot of running, and I needed all the stamina I could get. Suddenly, I got a call on the radio, and my boy Jamie told me that there was a woman nearby who needed help. That's right. I could use survivors to do my bidding. I couldn't kill zombies by myself. That much was obvious. But sicking survivors on them in my place? That might actually work. I hauled ass straight over to the survivor who needed my help and asked her what it would take to join my cause. After informing me that she wasn't interested in men, for some reason, she told me that all she really wanted was 3 cans of spray paint. So, okay. I went out on the town, collected 3 cans of spray paint, and returned to her with a smile. And guess what? It was as easy as that. Anna was now a part of the team, and I could rely on her to kill zombies for me without raising my kill count. I was in complete awe. This challenge was actually doable. Of course, because I had recruited her to be a part of the team, I thought the team needed a name, so I went with Team Dynamite. Also, I did have to put Anna through a bit of an initiation before officially joining the team, but we really don't need to talk about that. All you need to know is that she was strong as hell and things were looking good. When I got back to Rhonda's garage, we saw a news report that basically told us if we were still in the city by the end of the week, we'd be blown sky high with a whole bunch of nukes. In other words, we didn't have a lot of time to devise an escape plan. Thinking on the spot, Rhonda suggested we build a plane, and because I didn't have any brilliant ideas myself, I thought it was best to follow her lead. Rhonda wanted us to make our way across the city so that we could look for some spare parts and some garbage dump, but in order to do that, I needed to make an awesome combo vehicle that could bring us there. So I did, and just before we were about to leave, I hopped out and made the rest of the team follow behind me as I led a suicide charge into the endless hordes of the undead. Sorry guys, I can't do anything else, I'm sorry. As we made our way down that overrun highway, I started to level up more and more. Other than agility, what I was really aiming for was my posse size. See, in this game, you can have a maximum posse size of 5, but because I wasn't leveled enough for it, the only person I was allowed to have with me was Anna. And yeah, Anna was great, but more is always better. So I was kind of locked into putting points into smarts, mechanic, and life. Smarts for more female members, mechanic for more male members, and life for more survivor health in general. This would make me an unstoppable force with a whole crew of minions under my command who did everything I said without question. I couldn't wait. We eventually made our way to the garbage dump, but instead of finding metal and scraps, we fell into a bad guy's trap. A bunch of Sons of Anarchy wannabes. They took Rhonda into some back room before I could even do anything, and Anna and I were left out there to fend for ourselves. But this posed a question I hadn't thought of up until now. Did killing people count towards the kill counter? Yeah! Looks like humans are on the menu, boys. I know, I said I was a pacifist, but if the game's telling me that that's not a kill, then I'm good. My conscience is clean. We were able to take out a good amount of the biker boys, but then, all of a sudden, the real freak of the day showed himself, and my god, he was a disgusting pervert. He told me he wanted to do something nasty to me with his tongue. My only choice was to defend myself. Overall, beating this guy was pretty easy. All I really had to do was bait the guy, dodge him, stun him with a Molotov, then go to town on him as Anna cheered me on from the sidelines. A couple of head slams later and the guy was toast. Thankfully, Rhonda was still alive and untouched, so we got out of there. Before we could make it far though, some psychopath with a rifle opened fire on us even though we clearly weren't zombies. The situation was made even worse when I recognized the guy. That was my childhood friend from the orphanage. How the hell didn't he recognize me? He apologized for damn near blowing my head off. I got bit by a random zombie and my friends already gave up hope for me.
It was real nice knowing you, pal.
Well, Jesus Christ, guys, all I need is some Zombrex, okay? Chill out. First things first, though, it was time to expand Team Dynamite. Anna and I went around the town and recruited a new guy, Ravi. The team was growing, and the responsibility for my subordinate safety was really starting to weigh on me. If I was going to lead these people to glory, I'd need a new outfit. Something that could easily identify me. Something that said, dependable. Oh yes, we were ready to go. In order to test Ravi's resolve, I brought him along to a psychopath fight. See, Anna had already proven herself multiple times over and she'd survived the biker attack with me. But Ravi, he was a total stranger and he complained every 3 seconds. So it was simple. Either survive the next fight, or die a coward. The psychopath we were fighting was a ninjutsu master, and really, he was my rival. Unfortunately, there could only be one ninjutsu master in town, and that was me. The beginning of the fight was looking pretty good, and there weren't any red flags I could see. But then, when I threw my katana at the guy and it just casually bounced off his battle machete without so much as scratching him, I decided to go for a different tactic. Well, Mr. Wong. Looks like your ninjutsu couldn't defend against a shotgun, could it? Mr. Wong blabbed about how his whole life was crumbling around him. I told him I didn't have time to listen to a sob story, and he cut off his own head. Well, that happened. We then headed over to the graveyard, and I recruited yet another member to the team. And then right after that, I met a man by the name of Gary. Surprisingly, Gary knew where I could find some Zombrex. All I had to do to get it was drive a car across town, and it was all mine. Are you kidding me? Yeah, this wasn't good. This wasn't good at all. How in the hell was I gonna do that, huh? I mean, the streets were overflowing with the dead, and there was absolutely no other route to take but the main road. It looked like our little adventure was over. But then, my team spoke up and reminded me of what they were there for. My glory. The destination was only 300 meters away, barely a skip and a hop, and they were confident they could get me there. So, alright. I allowed myself to rely on them. And thank God I did, because these guys cleaned up. My team was like a gang of lawnmowers, and the zombies, grass. Of course, I did have to step in every so often to stop the zombies from overtaking them, and my little buddies were a massive food and energy drain on me, but overall, they were an irreplaceable asset, and 5 minutes later, the street was completely open for business. It did get a little dicey near the end, but with my godlike driving skills, we actually made it with 0 kills on our belt. I met up with Gary in the strip club, and he told me that he actually didn't have any Zombrex. What? I was about ready to start throwing hands. But then, Gary told me about this plane all the way on the other side of the city, and that if I could get there in one piece, I could fly out and get some Zombrex in the outside world. Oh, really? Now you tell me. So, not having any better options, I left that place with my team and began the recruiting process once again. The next candidate we came across was Simon, and he was a spaz case. As annoying as he was, though, he seemed like the kind of guy who would take orders without question, so I wanted him. The only problem was, I'd only been able to unlock a posse size of 3, and as you can see, I had already hit that mark. Someone was gonna have to go. Out of the 3 people in front of me, who did I choose? Who did I sentence to death, just so I could recruit someone I knew nothing about? I chose Ravi. Now look, I know Ravi survived the battle against Mr. Wong and everything, and that he had more than proven his worth to me already. But to be perfectly honest with you, I wasn't sure he was the right man for the job. So, I lined him up on the side of the building, took his only weapon, and kicked him to his doom. If he was really Team Dynamite material, and if he was serious about keeping a spot, he'd take out the entire street of zombies with nothing but his bare hands. I had faith. Yeah, unfortunately, Ravi only killed half of the hundreds of zombies on the street before succumbing to his death. Well, looks like a new spot opened up. Welcome to the team, Simon. I know you'll like it here. It wasn't long before we came across yet another bunch of survivors, but this time, they were fighting about something. I went over and asked what the big deal was, and that was when some old Russian woman told me that the guy across the fence tried to steal her food and that she wanted me to kill him. Jesus Christ, lady, calm down. I headed over to the other side of the fence and got the gangster dude's input, and he told me that the old lady was lying. It seemed the only way to resolve this would be through violence. And personally, I thought I had a much better chance against the old lady. Damn, I didn't expect Anna to start helping me out with the murder. My followers were dedicated, weren't they? I gave that old crone a few more swings for good measure before taking off. Next up on the to-do list was to find that plane Gary was talking about. With the highway being out of commission, it seemed like our only hope of surviving this mess. So the team and I made our way across town, found the warehouse the plane was supposed to be in, and boom, there it was. Well, that was easy. Except the plane didn't have any fuel, and the only way to get it was to run over 1,000 meters to the next town. Yep, that was the best part of this challenge. Having to run everywhere for 20 minutes at a time was so much fun. Anyway, we ended up meeting with another group of survivors, but instead of them being happy to see another person, they shot at me on sight. Do people not know the difference between the living and dead in the city? Hello? I found out that Annie was actually shacking up with these guys, and that the leader of their little group, Red, could get me the plane fuel if I was willing to help them. All I had to do was run around the entire map to take out some security cameras, capture 2 different outposts that were filled with SWAT guys, destroy 2 military caches on opposite sides of the map, and then take over an enemy police station. All that for some gas. Who do you think I am, some kind of errand boy? Well, actually, I was pretty desperate, so I did everything Red asked of me. The first part of the mission was pretty normal for the most part. Sure, I had to run around the map 3 times and ultimately ended up with 3 consecutive marathons under my belt, but whatever, the plane fuel was worth it. That is, until I got to the police station. There was a woman there that looked pretty good from the neck down, but when her face popped up on screen, I nearly threw up. That was when a distressed couple came out of nowhere, and instead of helping them, she had them killed. I came out of my hiding spot to tell her that what she did was wrong, and you wouldn't believe it, she actually listened to me. Just kidding, they obviously tried to kill me. Since humans didn't count as kills, I went all out. And of course, Team Dynamite backed me up the whole way. They were getting stronger. So strong, in fact, that I almost didn't need to do anything anymore. It was incredible. I chased that psychotic woman to the top floor, had an epic battle with her, and somehow ended up motorboating her on her deathbed. I wasn't complaining, but at the same time, I was very conflicted. Perhaps this has awakened something in me. When I returned to Red, he told me that a whole squad of SWAT guys had stormed their hideout while I was gone, and surprise, surprise, they stole the fuel. So, what you're saying is I did all that for nothing? Including the motorboating? Oh, God. Back to square one, huh? To take my mind off things, I decided to recruit some new members to the team, and I found just the right woman for the job. Carrie. In order for her to join, all she wanted was for me to find her briefcase. So after doing that, we welcomed yet another member to Team Dynamite. Since sledgehammers were easily the best weapons for survivors to use, I went into a local safe house and decked the team out. Looking back on this, I probably should have called us the Sledgehammer Squad, but whatever, it didn't really matter. We were ready to kill some people. Oh damn, I forgot to mention Alejandra, didn't I? Yeah, long story short, I ended up saving her from some insane surgeon. The team was now complete and we were ready for a bloodbath. During this time, we were kind of just shuffling around, not really knowing what to do with ourselves. It was kind of sad for the debut of Team Dynamite to be this anticlimactic, but I mean, there wasn't much going on. While we were moving from place to place, the squad and I came across a pitiful man who had trapped his undead family in a swimming pool in hopes that some Zombrex could save them. Before he was even finished speaking, the team got to work, slaughtering his family without a second thought. Apparently, Big Boy Jumbo over here didn't like that at all, and he told me that he was gonna cut me up with that meat cleaver. Oh my god. They didn't even hesitate. I think I accidentally created a cult. This was made even more apparent when I came across some disgusting fat woman in the local buffet. She also wanted me dead, and just like with Big Boy Jumbo, my team acted immediately. Look at them go! Look at her health! Yeah, I timed the fight from beginning to end, and guess how long it lasted? 14 seconds. My team was getting so good, they were even beginning to scare me. Anyway, having a team of seasoned warriors would be completely pointless if we didn't get out of there alive. We needed to come up with a new plan, something that would actually produce results this time. That was when Red called me. He told me that he was able to track the fuel down and that if I still wanted it, it was up for grabs. Hell yeah. But of course, the fuel was all the way across the city, so on my way over, I thought it'd be smart to replace someone on the team, and unfortunately, that person was Simon. I absolutely demolished that man. I caved his head in. I hit him so many times with that sledgehammer, I was starting to get bored. And guess what? He never turned on me. Simon was in it for the long haul, and nothing would shatter his resolve. It seemed the brainwashing had been too effective. Well, too bad, Simon. You're still off the team. I signed his release contract, recruited a big beefy boy in his place, and hired a traveling bard to motivate us on our journey. And this was where everything fell apart. Like Red had told me, the fuel was there and ready to go. It was all neatly placed in a car already, so all I had to do was drive it across the map to the warehouse, which was over 1,000 meters away. And the only way to get there was to drive through the zombie-infested highways, the ones that literally had hundreds of zombies on them. Well, it was fun while it lasted, right guys? But Team Dynamite didn't agree. Unlike me, they hadn't lost hope, and they told me that they could do it. They could clear the highways. Yeah, right. That was completely impossible. As if you guys could... Wow, wait a minute, this might actually be doable. Except it kinda wasn't. See, in order for me to make any kind of progress, my little squad had to clear the zombies in front of the car, right? This was all well and good, but while they took care of the ones in front, zombies from the sides would come on over and join the party. So basically, we were in an endless loop at all times. Not only was that an issue, but if a zombie happened to get stuck under the car, my survivor buddies couldn't deal with it, and if I tried to move the car away from it even slightly, the zombie would die and I'd have to start all over. Also, some zombies that were motionless on the floor were actually still alive. You can tell by their squirming, which by itself isn't hard to see, but when they're grouped up with 100 other corpses, yeah, good luck finding the needle in a haystack. So what I ended up having to do was downright diabolical. I'd get the survivors to clear the way, quickly check to make sure there were no wigglers, I'd drive the car maybe 10, 20 meters if I was lucky, and the process would repeat again. Oh, did I forget to tell you that my survivor buddies could actually do insane damage to the car, so I had to stay 10 feet away from it at all times? Or that a survivor could hit a zombie under the car, forcing me to have to restart the entire thing? Or how about the fact that the entire 1,000 meter journey didn't have a single checkpoint, so if I messed up right at the end, everything would be for nothing? Yeah. This whole section took a huge toll on my sanity. I slowly made my way across the city, taking out group after group and plotting my route perfectly. I was like a mother hen, feeding my baby chicks when they were close to death and redirecting them when they were led astray. Everything seemed to be going well, and after an hour, I was nearly at the end of a long drive. But hold up. Do you see something here? Those SWAT zombies. They're wiggling, meaning they're still alive. With all of the corpses on the road at that time, I completely missed the 2 wigglers, and after backing up and driving over them, I gained 2 kills. That was an hour of my life down the drain and a full restart. So I tried again, but this time I inspected every single body thoroughly before inching my way forward, and by some miracle, I ended up making it to the warehouse without a single kill. It only took me 3 hours. We were ready to get out of there, except remember Diego, the guy who almost killed me in the beginning? Yeah. For whatever reason, Rhonda wanted me to find him before leaving. I was all for letting that moron die in the city, but at the same time, I'd do anything for Rhonda. The motorboating had done something terrible to me. The team and I ended up tracing Diego to a museum, and the guy was completely off his rocker. He was dressed up in a spacesuit, and I proceeded to fight through the stupidest boss fight ever. It was nothing my team of seasoned veterans couldn't handle, though, right? Surely they could kill Diego. Right? Wrong. Because Diego was sticking to the ceiling, my band of sledgehammer-wielding heroes couldn't do a damn thing to help. So at that point, it was basically a 1v1. Everything was in chaos, and Diego was doing heavy damage to my team. I couldn't believe a joke like him could be an actual threat. Regardless, I fought him with everything I had, and thankfully, we knocked the delusions out of him. With Diego back in our custody, we could finally leave. But someone was missing. I could see Carrie, Alejandra, Jesse, and Eric, but where was Anna? What was going on? I rushed back into the room we had our battle in, and there, lying dead on the floor, was Anna, the first member of Team Dynamite, the person who had been there for me since day one. She was gone now. I was in shock. When did she get killed? I thought we were doing just fine against Diego. I mean, come on, wasn't the fight supposed to be easy? How could this happen? That was when my vision centered on Diego, that little snake. From the beginning, all he'd been was a problem. He added no value to the team whatsoever, and because we went out of our way to save him, Anna had been killed. By him! Still, the team didn't want me to kill him. If I did, saving Diego and ultimately Anna's death would have been for nothing. We needed to return with something to show for it. I didn't agree at all. I began my revenge that very minute, but because Diego was invincible, there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. At that point, my only option was to pray for his downfall. When we got back to the warehouse, we were immediately kidnapped by a gang of thugs, and Diego and I woke up in some lab. Apparently, we were both immune to the zombie virus, and they wanted to do some testing on us. So they zapped Diego with a laser beam, and the guy died in the most horrific way possible. Hell yeah! It looked like there was a god out there after all. Diego's corpse released zombie hornets and worms into the room, and my kidnappers were all taken out. Not wanting to die a pathetic death, I broke out of my restraints and began my escape plan. I was able to put together an electric rake, I grabbed a bunch of full heals, and I was out of there. Everything was looking good. However, there was one problem. I had a robot boss fight to get through, and all of my teammates had been sent home. Now, in a usual playthrough, this section isn't an issue. All you have to do is defeat 4 robots in 4 different locations to get out of there safely. What makes this part near impossible for me is that robots 2 and 3 have a bunch of zombies surrounding them, and I can't swing my rake around without accidentally killing a few of them. I know what you're thinking. Dante, just take your time. Wait for your moment to strike to slowly whittle them down. Yeah, that doesn't work. If I take too long, flames from the laboratory end up killing me. Here, I legitimately thought the challenge was over. I tried again and again and again, and I was just racking up L after L. I tried to take out the robots as fast as I could, even resorting to speedrun guides when I realized I wasn't anywhere close to cracking the code. But it was all for nothing. I just didn't have enough time to pull it off. Until my moment came. There I was, in the last moments of my battle. The robot only had a single life bar left, and although I could feel the heat of the flames inching closer and closer to me, I kept running in circles, praying that I'd have an opening to launch my final attack. Unfortunately, the zombies glued themselves to the robot, so I wasn't able to find any openings. With just seconds left to spare, I went for it, defeating the robot in a single hit and guaranteeing my progress to the next area. Without any zombies to get in my way, I took out the final robot and escaped with 0 kills on my belt. It was an amazing feeling. As good as I had been doing, things still weren't over. Remember Gary? The guy who got me to drive that first car across town? Yeah, well, he kidnapped Annie. He'd been looking for her the entire game and was finally able to get his hands on her while I was gone. So, Team Dynamite and I showed up at his club and demanded he release her. Gary refused us, even when I threatened to throw my ham at him, and said if we didn't find his wife, he wouldn't let us have her. Long story short, we found out his wife was actually Rhonda. Some bad guys cut her arm off, we turned it into a robot arm, we escorted her across town, and the two were reunited once again. Gary thanked us for our help and allowed Annie's freedom, and it was there I finally realized that she was a complete moron. After making it to the warehouse and getting ready to finally leave the city once and for all, Annie got kidnapped yet again. Oh, okay. Red was the culprit this time, and he was gonna sell Annie to the same guy who hired Gary. It looked like one more battle stood between me and my freedom. The first part of the fight was between me and Red's crane. The goal was to shoot at certain weak points on the outside of the crane to force Red to face us in a fair fight, and after doing exactly that, the second part of the battle began. Except, it wasn't a fair fight, because Team Dynamite immediately surrounded the guy and beat him to death with their sledgehammers. It was wild, man. I didn't even lift a finger. Red was dead, Annie was saved, and we were ready to go. But plot twist, Annie's dad was actually the guy who hired those thugs to kidnap her, and he was none other than Chuck Green, meaning Annie was actually Katie. Before we could get out of there, we heard on the radio that some military dude was gonna release hordes of zombies all over the world, and if we didn't do anything to stop it, life as we knew it would end. Really, dude, really? Can we just get out of here already? Please? So for the final Final time, I went around town with Chuck and the crew as we took out the military dude zombie collectors. There were a lot of them and I had to run to opposite sides of the map multiple times just to keep up with them, but eventually we were able to destroy them all. When our work was done, I left the team to sneak my way onto the ship that was attempting to collect the zombies, and after crashing it, I fought some tubby guy in a 1v1, except he was unarmed while I got to use insane weapons against him. Hey, I wasn't complaining. I used every single ninjutsu technique I knew on that man, and when he couldn't take it anymore, I turned him into tomato paste. And that brought my little adventure to a close. Finally, after having been through so much, after refusing to give up even when things looked bleak, I'd done it. I beat Dead Rising 3 without killing a single zombie. Wait. What the hell is that? Thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment, like, share, click the bell, leave a super chat, give me your credit card info, and I'll see you thick boys in the next one.